I wanted to make a short that has every documentary cliche in it, like a 3-minute short where you've got, like, you know, I don't know, kids in prison in a wheelchair who have to enter a baking contest. Thank you.
Oscar winner, Jessica.
Oh my goodness.
Do you ever tire that?
Oh, you know, I guess I don't really think about it that much. And then, you know, when it comes up, there is this feeling, that's right. Weirdly enough, actually, it was out of Sour Death Balls that I got the chance to make breathing lessons because, you know, through writing about going on the festival circuit with that, the woman who is Mark O'Brien's editor, who's the subject of breathing lessons, contacted me about making a film about him. So it's always very random and, you know, nothing makes any sense.
And this is really sort of how your career goes to some extent. It's like projects that sort of like come about.
Yes, exactly. Well, with Protagonist, actually, I was showing In the Realms of the Unreal, which was a documentary about the artist Henry Darger.
Fabulous.
Thank you, thank you. Oh no, I love that one. Anyway, I was showing it at Sundance, and afterwards, I was contacted by these two nice men from the Carr Foundation, and they said, well, we think that there can be a film made about Euripides, and we think you're the one to do it. And usually when people think, oh, you know, I've got an idea for a documentary for you, and you know, it might be some very good social issue, but you can kind of see what that film is going to be. You can imagine, you know, how the music is going to sound. But Euripides, you know, it was like the frontier, the wilderness. So I jumped at that one.
So I'm curious about that though, because they came to you and they couldn't have had an idea of, one, how it would turn out, but they also didn't have any sort of directive in terms of how they wanted you to approach it?
No, and this probably will never happen to me in my life again, but they said, you know, we just feel that you'll do something interesting, and so we talked about it over a summer. And then I came up with this idea, and they didn't quite get it. I mean, that's the other problem with that film and In the Realms of the Unreal. It was very hard to explain how the film was going to look and feel and how it was going to work until it was finished.
I never really controlled my life. I wasn't in control. I was out of control. And it was hard for me to face that. My dad got hugely violent. He would choke us, spit on us. I attacked the man who had beat me down. That felt wonderful. And I went looking for bigger game.
In a lot of ways, I didn't fit in. I wanted to feel free from my queerness. I never wanted to be a preacher who was a hypocrite.
Hallelujah.
Das Faszinierende an der ganzen Sache war für mich, ich war
nur Mitglied der revolutionären Zelle.
Cells of terrorists with international links.
Anerkannt und akzeptiert zu werden, als einer unter vielen.
I was sort of the school punching bag. This guy is like a knife, and he says, Kung Fu is my secret. I bear no arms. That's what I want.
I felt that this made me a strong man.
That was my mission.
Also ausdrücken, ein Herrscher über Leben und Tod mit so einem Ding, ne?
I almost was in tears. It felt so good. There was a specialness that I had been craving. I was a man. I was among men.
Sometimes I robbed 4 banks a day. I enjoyed having people be terrorized by me.
Ich hab den Mann da liegen sehen in seiner Gehirnmasse, da war mir kurz elend, ne? Nun auch noch Held, eh klar.
I wanted to believe that under the surface, I had some kind of strength. The teacher just choked this kid. It was horrifying. There was no lesson.
My whole thinking was very black-white. I mean, I was in hell. There was definitely a crack.
Ich weiß natürlich nichts, ne? Ich weiß, dass ich nichts weiß, ne?
If only I could be certain, I wouldn't be fighting against myself.
Because I'm not good anymore. I gotta be evil.
You can't know God unless you know yourself.
And so you make the film and you give it to the Carr Foundation, is that?
Yeah, yeah.
And what do they say? Like, wow, that is exactly what we anticipated.
No, they
God
did.
Bless you, Jessica.
They were actually just completely delighted, which was fantastic because I mean I was very happy with. I felt like that the film worked the way I wanted it to, but still, you know.
It's interesting because your approach is not just. It's not a straight approach to Protagonist. take some very unorthodox means of telling the story.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
with wooden.
Well, okay. So in researching the way that Euripides was, you know, the way that the plays were put on, you know, the tradition then was, you know, being this very large, you know, open amphitheater. The players would wear very large fixed masks that would, you know, have some expression that would indicate their character. And those masks, they're pretty creepy. And so I thought, well, how could we use these? And I didn't want actors up on stage reading it, but I liked the idea of puppets, because then there's also ways that we could, I didn't want like the, you know, heavy symbolic baggage of strings from heaven, but I liked the idea of using the rod puppets as a way to depict the back histories of the people featured in the film, but also to give them kind of a thematic tie-in. So everyone has their own puppet, inner vision of a puppet. Like if I say puppet to you, you probably see a bunny rabbit, but that's another story. But you know, so if you say, well, you know, and by the way, we're using these puppets, it's a very loaded thing. So, you know, that was one element that I wasn't sure was going to work for everybody, but people really seem to enjoy the puppets, and I think it does tie. It's almost like the visual glue for the stories in the film.